Welcome back. You're watching the poll of polls here on NDTV 24/7. We are unique because we are bringing you all the exit polls in one big basket and telling you what the average is as far as these important state elections are concerned. So let's get straight to the numbers. Let's not waste any time. Looking first at Uttar Pradesh and what the exit polls are saying there. Most of them, Vasu, are in. This is the breakup poll-wise, different pollsters and what they've predicted, what different news channels are saying. The clear message from there is that the BJP is winning Uttar Pradesh. It might be by a slightly narrower margin, 211 on one end of the spectrum, but it does go up to 260 on the other end of the spectrum. So it's unanimous across polls, Vasu, that the BJP is winning UP.
That's right. So it looks like, if you look at these polls, that the Yogi Adityanath is what, as the BJP said, the Up-Yogi of BJP. The double engine of Modi and Yogi seems to have come back or been brought back to power. Historic, as we've been seeing. Never happened for decades that you'll see the same chief minister serving two successive full terms. Akhilesh doing extremely well, Nidhi, because this is, everyone was saying this is going to be a bipolar election. The numbers show that. The BSP virtually getting more or less wiped out. The Congress, of course, not a player. Akhilesh gaining almost 3 times as much, reaching 150, but somewhere his Rath drawing huge crowds but falling short.
The next sort of big state that we're all looking at is Punjab, and here it's a consensus pretty much that again the Aam Aadmi Party is going to take Punjab, although there are a couple of polls where it's not as a comfortable a win as they would have liked. But if you look at Access, for example, where I don't see Access on this list, but I know it's there, the India Today poll, they've given them up to 90 seats, but you have, Vasu, 75 seats according to ETG research. And I thought another interesting story out of Punjab, apart from the AAP and the Congress, is the Akalis, because most of the polls are actually showing the Akali Dal doing better than we thought.
That's right. This is something that a lot of people were talking about, and we've also picked this up on the ground, that the Akalis were not completely getting wiped out. There is a certain core vote base which they've managed to hold on to. But at the end of the day, it's a phenomenal performance by the AAP, and it speaks to the deep disenchantment that the people of Punjab have with the established parties. Everyone we met said they wanted Badlav, almost everyone, and almost everyone, when they referred to Badlav, meant AAP.
Right, so the Aam Aadmi Party would definitely be pleased with this sort of overall picture that's emerging from these exit polls. Moving on to Uttarakhand, the state that the Congress, when this campaign began, should have been easily able to take. But if you look there, it's much closer perhaps than the Congress would have liked, with an edge to the BJP, Vasu. The BJP has had infighting. It's had to change chief ministers twice in the last 1 year for various reasons. So they've had problems, but the Congress clearly has not, at least according to these exit polls, been entirely able to capitalize on that.
Absolutely. I mean, Harish Rawat, again, head and shoulders above the other leaders when it came to popularity rankings for chief ministers. But the Congress, too much of a house in division, and somewhere along the line, that's obviously hurt it.
We're moving on to Goa next. That's another state that's being keenly watched, and look at the numbers there. Goa is always interesting, Vasu, isn't it? Because, right now it's neck and neck, but ultimately a lot in Goa will depend on the resort politics, of which there is no dearth, as they say.
Absolutely. I think the private jets are already in the air, and both parties, both combines, are going to be sending their key troubleshooters. This time, though, it'll be interesting to see if the BJP does manage to pull in the numbers, because remember, Nidhi, A, the Congress has had its fingers burnt in 2017, and B, this time you have the Trinamool, you have the Aam Aadmi Party, and you have other stakeholders who say they're going to make sure that it's not going to be as easy for the BJP to cobble together a majority. So we could see, or we could end up seeing, somewhat of a protracted political drama in Goa. We hope that doesn't happen, but these numbers seem to indicate that the story may not be over on the 10th.
Which means we must fly you out there as soon as possible, Vasu, to cover that. And moving on next to Manipur, a lot of exit polls coming in for Manipur as well. And again, it's a clear consensus as far as Manipur is concerned. All the polls there are showing a clear win to the BJP, Vasu.
So that's actually, at the end of the day, a good score, I would say, for the BJP, because obviously UP was the big one to get in the bag, and to be able to win it twice, despite all the turbulence, the political turbulence that we've seen in the past 5 years, despite the second wave, despite economic distress, all of that, that's quite remarkable. Being able to hold on to Manipur, perhaps even Uttarakhand, the BJP would say, listen, even if it's 3-2, they will be able to take that. Once again, Nidhi, it exposes the difference between the different opposition parties. If you look at the Aadmi party and the way they fought and they took the campaign to Punjab, Kejriwal now emerging as now quite a contender within the national space as well. You have a number of these leader jostling. KCR is coming in, Mamta is coming in. After winning Punjab, Kejriwal now also
very much a contender.
Becomes a contender. The Congress, on the other hand, as always, ends up looking like the weak link in the anti-BJP opposition.
That is something we need to talk about in some detail, sort of the national impact of this. I just want to go first across to Ghanshyam Tiwari, spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party, who joins us this evening. And Ghanshyam Tiwari, okay, one exit poll, two exit polls saying that the Samajwadi Party will not win, but each and every exit poll is showing the BJP winning. And are you saying, therefore, that all of the exit polls are wrong? I know Professor Ram Gopal Yadav, who's one of your senior party leaders, has tweeted that the SP will win more than 300 seats. So he's actually stuck his neck out with a figure and said, despite what the exit polls are saying, that's how well you will do. Are you saying they're all wrong?
Well, I'm saying that by any calculation, BJP will not cross 32% vote share. And the reason for that is that en masse youth are voting against BJP. It is not just for a party. The temper of youth in Uttar Pradesh is against BJP en masse. That is one. And two, across board, BJP has been switching narrative. So while exit polls can come, but you have to understand that you have a government and a party that built bulldozer as its symbol, a symbol of terrorizing the voters, terrorizing the common man of UP. So you think that in front of these cadres, and you just scan all the stories that emerged from the elections, where election commission was people made complaint to election commissions. Yeah. Every such story was about bullying or thuggery enacted by BJP workers or leaders or of MLA abuses by a BJP MLA. So story after story will tell you that no one is going to tell you who they voted for, because they have in front of them a government that is known for bulldozer at its symbol. A man like Adityanath, who said that no one died due to lack of oxygen, as their chief minister candidate, and a model of terror in their governance.
One thing I wanted to ask you, Ghanshyam, you said the BJP won't cross 32%.
Yes.
Vote share. Did I hear you right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, because the Samajwadi Party actually won the elections in 2012 with about a vote share of 30%. So you can actually win. You can actually win the election with a 30% or
not in a bipolar contest. So not in a bipolar contest. This BJP got nearly 41% vote share in 2017. From there, I'm saying that they will not cross 32% vote share. And the losses that they are going to make are the youth voters, which are casteless, classless, and want jobs, and the OBC voters. And the first two phases of UP elections clearly showed that a lot of BSP voters are also voting for SP.
But listen, Ghanshyam, the fact is that one can of course say anything one wants, because we're talking about exit polls. But at the end of the day, if you look at what happened with Akhilesh and his campaign, to me, Nidhi, the parallel was, and Ghanshyam, very similar to Tejasvi Yadav in the Bihar elections in 2020. That was during the first wave, this is during the second wave. That was also, in a sense, a young Gen Next Yadav leader, single-handedly taking on the BJP-JDU alliance. Here it's Akhilesh Yadav. Right through the pandemic, Tejasvi Yadav was said to be missing in action. He was said to be sitting in a farmhouse in Delhi. Akhilesh Yadav, the allegation was camping in London. Arrives just before the elections, stages this big dhamaka, goes on these road shows, draws frenzied crowds. I remember seeing those frenzied crowds in Bihar. Everybody said, this looks like a RJD wave. Similar reading is being attributed to Akhilesh's one-man, road show. But those frenzied crowds at the last minute do not necessarily, Ghanshyam, translate into victory. Was this a mistake? Should Akhilesh have been, because, you let 5 years pass, should he have been out there fighting much more visible, especially during the pandemic second wave, building organizational strength, all of that? So there were many smart moves he did at the last minute, especially like, putting together this caste coalition and all that. but was it too little too late?
Well, it's a good point, but the operative word there is allegation. Where a prime minister says that people who ride cycles are people use cycles to plant bombs. BJP is known by its propaganda, allegation, and a mechanization of hate and terrorizing people. So I would not go up by allegations. As far as the last 5 years in Uttar Pradesh is concerned, case after case, wherever somebody weak was terrorized by BJP, SP sent their delegation, senior leaders in every such scenario. We stood for the people against the government in every scenario, whether it was the protests that were happening, whether it is the farm movement. You can say that this is not the kind of activist politics one has seen SP in the past. But Akhilesh Yadav ji is known both by the brand of organization politics he practices as well as his governance track record. So I think in this election at least, the first and foremost question, and you were all on the ground, is that whose agenda has set in. BJP was not able to frame this as a Hindu-Muslim election. No matter how hard they have tried in the last 5 years, they were not able to frame this as a Hindu-Muslim election, and that tells you the story of Uttar Pradesh.
All right, well, let's see, ultimately, counting day is what matters. But Aarti Jairath also joining us, and I just wanted to read out, by the way, another set of figures that have just come in, and hopefully we'll get those up soon. Today's Chanakya, remember today's Chanakya, the pollster who can forget? Well, the guy who got 2014 right and how. So their Punjab seat projection, by the way, is 100 for the Aadmi party, like we're talking landslide plus. And, 10 for the Congress plus minus 7, bacha kya hai. And, few seats here and there for the Akali Dal and the BJP. So that's quite a projection there from today's Chanakya, who has put out these Punjab projections. So Aarti Jairath, let's bring you in first. Let's first talk about UP because Ghanshyam is here with us from the Samajwadi Party. What is sort of standing out to you in these UP numbers? Do you think that every single exit poll would be wrong? I mean, at least it would give you an idea of which way the wind is blowing, right?
Yeah. I think, exit polls vary in numbers, but I think the trend is pretty unanimous that the BJP is winning UP again. And that's a tremendous feat, to win a state a second time. And, so I think, as Vasu had mentioned earlier, the sentiment is very strong. The Hindu sentiment is very strong. The sentiment that the BJP has managed to consolidate over the last 5 years. I think that, whatever the performance of the Yogi government may be, that's, Indian elections tend to be fought on sentiment and emotion, not on governance. So I think that, although there are very serious bread and butter issues that affect people, but because of the sentiment, they've still gone with the BJP. And of course, there is that formidable election machine of the BJP, which nobody can match because they've got so many boots on the ground. They've got BJP workers, they've got RSS workers, and look at the galaxy of union ministers traverse UP, for all those weeks.
Right.
So, and the Prime Minister himself spending 3 full days and nights in Varanasi. Which other political party can match? And,
Okay. Sorry, Aarti Jairath, just a little bit of a problem with the audio there, Vasu, if you want to sort of take it.
Yeah, Aarti, we'll just come back to you in a second. We've got Preeti Menon of the Aam Aadmi Party with us. Preeti, if those numbers are actually going to be the actual, congratulations, that's going to be a massive win in Punjab. Give us a sense of what changed between 2017 to now, because in 2017 also you fought with the sense that there was going to be badlav, fell short. What has changed between now and then, you think, of how you fought this election?
I think what changed between 2017 and now is the 5 years of work that the Aam Aadmi Party government has done in Delhi, as well as the organization that has been built in Punjab under the leadership of Bhagwant Mann and under the leadership of leaders like Raghav Chadha and Jarnail Singh. So combined with the work that we've done in Delhi, the delivery of the work that was done in Delhi, and with the way Punjab has realized that Congress just imploded due to corruption and due to various charges and counter charges between themselves, it was clear for the people that it is time to give AAP a chance. We all see that Punjab is reeling in debt. We see that the economy is completely devastated with the kind of corruption and mismanagement that has happened over the decades, but especially in the last 5 years. So this is an anti-incumbency vote as well as it is a vote for the Kejriwal model. People have wholeheartedly accepted the Bhagwant Mann and Arvind Kejriwal jodi, and we thank the people of Punjab because that from all polls that we are clearly making government in Punjab on 10th of March.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what what trajectory the AAP takes from here.
And in fact, it's quite interesting because the entire campaign in Punjab was very Kejriwal centric. In fact, even the campaign theme song "Mauka De Kejriwal Nu" was about Kejriwal
until they were forced to declare
Bhagwant Mann's name was announced at the very last in that referendum. You know, they did this whole thing for the first time. People are selecting the chief minister's candidate, not the party high command. So it was very much pitched as, you vote for AAP and it will be Kejriwal model, even hinting that it even may be Kejriwal himself. Remember that rumor? Which
has sort of gone on since the last election, since 2017. We have Ranbir Pathania, spokesperson of the BJP, joining us, and as well, Ranbir Pathania, how do you look at these exit poll numbers? What is your, you look like you're smiling already, not surprisingly.
You see, with regard to Uttar Pradesh, we reiterate our considered stand that the politics of performance, it shall ultimately prevail upon. This was our considered stand. And in this, we could say the entire gamut of elections and counter-elections and charges and we could say counter-allegations also. Ultimately, what we said, and I think some 20 seats more. You're some 20 seats more than your mean. And in Punjab, keep assured, you will have a different story to tell. Though Aam Aadmi Party is the major gainer, we accept it.
Right.
We accept it on the face of it, but you will have a new story to tell on 10th of March.
No, but before you come to Punjab, Mr. Pathania, when you talk about UP being a sort of a verdict on performance, if it is all about performance, why was then the Chief Minister making statements like 80-20 election, Kabristan, Shamshan Ghat, Abba Jan?
My respectful submission, sir. 80% are those people, those are with BJP.
Okay, sorry, the perils of Zoom and other... Okay, sorry, you're back, Ranbir ji, go ahead. Alright, I'm sorry.
I think there's a bit of an audio issue.
There's still a bit of a glitch. Sorry, Preeti Menon, if I could just go back to you on this sort of impact of this on the Aam Aadmi Party's politics from here. It's clear that the AAP has national ambitions. You've been doing a lot of work in Punjab. You've ventured into Goa, Uttarakhand, etc. Will a victory like this in Punjab really propel the party to take this even further? And what are honestly the challenges you foresee in that? Because it is not easy without any cadre on the ground to sort of expand in multiple states. You might be able to do it in one or two, but do you really see that would be the next big mission?
I think that AAP has clearly shown that it is emerging as the next national alternative. We are here to replace the Congress. The Congress is imploding. It has made itself irrelevant. And it is a challenge. We have a challenge of resources. We have a challenge of cadre. But I think what you will see that in the last 10 years, the party has grown better than any other party in India has ever done. So we've managed to overcome challenges of resources, of people, of reach in 10 years just by doing delivery and good governance. We've changed the paradigm. We've delivered and people have now voted for that governance. Even in elections where we may have not got a huge mandate, but like in Goa and Uttarakhand, we changed the dialogue. We brought people to discuss governance issues. So I think that what we've managed to do, not just establish ourselves as the next national alternative, what we've also managed to do is get people to focus on governance issues rather than Kabristan and issues like that. So I think that is a bigger win for the party, and I see that this win is going to change the way the party functions in the next 1 year. You're going to see the party grow dynamically and in really large leaps and bounds. As it is, we are spreading ourselves in Gujarat, in Maharashtra. We are building organization in various parts of the country. I think that this win of Punjab and the delivery of the promises that we've made over there will establish us as the only party in India that focuses and delivers governance.
Okay. Which is interesting, Nidhi, before we take a break, that on the Congress, while it appears that this is yet another election which is going against the Congress, that even in states like Goa, where the Congress was completely eviscerated, it still manages to emerge as the main challenger to the BJP. It may still end up being the single largest party. So there's something about the brand Congress which gives it this enduring traction or hold that even in these most adverse of circumstances, you can't completely write it off.
Therefore, as we've commented on in the past also, Vasu, when you look at an opposition alliance against the BJP, even for 2024, look at the data from the last Lok Sabha election. I think there were 170 plus seats where it was just a direct contest between the Congress and the BJP.
Absolutely.
The strike rate of the BJP, of course, was 90% in those seats, but it was a direct fight between these two parties. So will an AAP or a TMC or a KCR or an NCP be able to fill that vacuum that quickly? It's going to take time, even if that happens. So therefore, the question is, can there be an opposition alliance without the Congress at the center of it? KCR certainly wants to think that there could be.
So the short answer to that is no. You
no.
cannot by 2024 have an anti-BJP alliance which doesn't have the Congress, because you mentioned they're close to almost 170 to 200 seats where there is no other rival to the BJP, and nobody can fill that vacuum in the next 2 years. So for better or for worse, the opposition will have to accept that you have to go in with the Congress and hope that the Congress improves its game in those seats. But anyway, that's for later. For the moment, we'll take a break and we'll come back and further unpack these fascinating results. Opinion poll results. Exit poll results. Exit poll results. Oops.
Welcome back to our special coverage of the exit polls tonight. The poll of polls right here on NDTV. And before we go on to our analysis, let's also take a look at what some of those who are big political players in these elections, what they have been cooing. Bhagwant Mann has talked about visiting the strong room of EVM machines that have been reserved for several different Vidhan Sabhas at Sangrur. We'll see what exactly he's done that for. While Harpal Singh Cheema of the AAP has said what the exit polls are saying, that the AAP will form a government with an absolute majority in Punjab. So that is as far as coup is concerned. Now, Pawan Verma of the Trinamool Congress now joining us on NDTV this evening. Pawan Verma, your first thoughts on the exit polls tonight, a big return for the BJP in UP and elsewhere a very interesting contest such as in Uttarakhand and Goa.
Thank you, Nidhi, and it's good to see you back on TV. Hello, Vasu. You know, these polls reflect one thing, that so long as the opposition is not organized well on the ground, it's always advantage BJP. Just as an instance, I think Akhilesh Yadav has put up a good fight in UP. But with 15% Muslims, 8% Yadavs, I don't think you can defeat the caste configuration built by the BJP. So it requires much more effort. I mean, that is your constituency. The attempt to broad base it came too late, and the Congress, the BSP and OSC are eating into your vote share. That's the broad picture. The BJP gets the forward caste, the Brahmins and the Rajputs, as a gift once the Yadavs come into the fray. And the BJP has very systematically and diligently cultivated the non-Yadav OBCs, which account for some 35% of the population.
Right.
The Dalits are divided. The Jatavs that go with Mayawati are playing footsie with BJP. I'm just giving you an example. In Uttarakhand, the BJP had got 61% of the vote in 2019. How much can it fall? The Congress was just not prepared on the ground to win a war it could have.
Right.
So these are the issues that we need to think about.
In fact, Rajdeep has just tweeted, Rajdeep Sarda, the India Today Access poll is giving a complete sweep to the BJP, 288 to 326.
Wow.
For the BJP alliance, and only 71 to 101 seats. So there's a massive landslide, crossing even last time. If you go by the outer limit of that. But Pawan, I want to come back to what you said about the opposition getting its act together, because if you look at the Trinamool Congress, which you're now part of, isn't Trinamool also part of the problem? Where instead of trying to all work together, you're all pulling each other down. The Trinamool Congress was continuously attacking the Congress party, was breaking away Congress leaders in Goa, was saying the Congress is the weak link in the opposition. And then at some point the Trinamool says, okay, you know what, let's actually try and do a dance in Goa. Remember, we spoke about this, you met Mr. Chidambaram several times. So, isn't that also part of the problem? That you have too many leaders like Mamata Banerjee and others all wanting to be the main opposition face in 2024, having your prime ministerial ambitions, and actually all attacking each other when you should be working together.
Well, it is a problem. It is a problem, and what you are seeing is an inevitable churn, because there is a void created, Vasu. The void has come with the relentless decline of the Congress party, which is the principal opposition party. Now, there will be a certain degree of friction and churn in terms of who and how and who all fill that void. So, it is a process. But ultimately, the opposition has to, on a more systemic basis, get its act on the ground. The Congress should be the leader in this. But if the Congress refuses to reinvent itself, then the results of UP are one example. The defeat from possible victory in Uttarakhand is another. And so on and so forth. I need not point to examples. Now, in this churn, I think ultimately people are looking for an option to the BJP which is enduring, which is grassrooted, which is credible, which is strategic, which is organized, and which has a pan-Indian tie-up. That search is still on.
No, but just a quick one more question to you, to Pawan Nidhi, that when you say that, Pawan, if you look at Goa, where you made a big bang entry, saying the Congress has collapsed, same thing that, you know, they're the weak link, they still are at least in the game. It's the Trinamool which is completely collapsed despite putting in all your resources. What do you, because you were there camping in Goa, you were part of the Goa campaign.
Yeah.
What went wrong for you, you think?
It unraveled pretty quickly.
No, I think that when in the last election, 10 MLAs of the Congress, which emerged as the single largest party, upped and went to the BJP. We felt that the Congress was not equal to the task of defeating the BJP, and it was time, therefore, for a new force to enter.
Yes.
At some point, we realized that it's better for Congress and TMC to come together, unite the opposition, and defeat the BJP.
But what went wrong for the TMC? No, what went wrong for you think, in Goa?
I think everything has gone right, depending on the results, and I don't want to sound premature. For a party that came in 4 months ago, to be even considered to be in the reckoning, the BJP was in Goa for 25 years before it won 1 seat. If the TMC-MGP alliance between anything between 2 to 5 seats,
all right.
It would be, in my view, a very creditable beginning.
Pawan Verma, just a quick last question, which is that in terms of what this means for an opposition alliance going ahead, will this strengthen voices to keep the Congress out of an anti-BJP front? There are leaders like Sharad Pawar and all who consistently maintain that you need the Congress in order to really take on the BJP. So, is the TMC going to push for that non-Congress front still?
You see, this is precisely, Nidhi, the conundrum. You can't keep the Congress out, and why should you keep the Congress out? But you can't depend upon the Congress to lead or substantially take on the BJP now. So therefore, I said that we are in a process of transition, and until we find the answer to this big question mark in Indian politics.
Okay. All right, Pawan Verma, let's also, we have Yamini Iyer is with us, Center for Policy Research, and very keen commentator on the public conversation. And thank you very much indeed for joining us. Now, Yamini, just to ask you, if we look at Uttar Pradesh and look at some of these other states, and we've been making this point through the show, that there's this interesting disconnect between governance and electoral outcomes. You come across people who will be critical of the government, who will say that there's economic distress, host of reasons, but they may say we'll still end up voting for the BJP. Of course, more people now than earlier are not saying, I mean, a substantial number of people I met are saying that they will end up voting against, but a large number of them say they will, which is perhaps reflective in these results. How do you this is quite a big shift in Indian elections.
Absolutely. I think one of the, anyone who visited UP and especially Eastern UP was quick to pick up the extent of distress that is visible. Everyone is talking, especially the youth are talking about jobs, the distress, economic distress after the lockdown. There's a very clear distinction people are making in their minds of life before lockdown, post-lockdown. Mehengai comes up again and again. But the one thing that I did notice in the brief time I spent in the field was how much that sort of anti-incumbency and economic distress and anger is directed to the local candidate. And in some ways, the voter is making a little bit of a distinction between the local candidate and the leader of the party. And many of those whom we spent time speaking with, who said many things about the distress that they are facing, complained in no small measure about the local candidate who hadn't visited, who was corrupt, many of the usual governance stories that we hear, but also did talk about voting for Modi primarily and often Yogi as well. So the centralization of the political party structure, I think, is playing out in the minds of the voters. And linked to this is the direct benefit transfers that, in fact, are being able to create a very direct link between the leader of the party and the individual. You see this not just in the BJP, we saw it in the West Bengal elections too. We've seen it in Andhra, across the country. The ability to link the voter with the leader creates a very direct relationship, cutting out the intermediaries that further enhances the strength of the leader. So one of the things we heard in Eastern UP in some places was how much party workers were calling to say, come and take your ration. And what comes when you go there, you see pictures of the party leadership that reinforces that relationship. So I think some of that is certainly playing out in voter choices.
Clearly, the Prime Minister is still the biggest asset for the BJP in terms of, how their campaign plays out. And we've got Mr. Satyapal Jain, who's been a member of the BJP's national executive, joining us as well. Mr. Jain, are you pleased, of course, with what the exit polls are saying about UP? And just to remind our viewers that the Access India Today exit poll, which has more or less got most elections right in the last few years, is predicting 288 to 326 seats for the BJP, which means they may do even better than they did the last time.
And also suggesting that that's because of a big shift in a large, significant shift of women voters to the BJP. Seems to be indicated. We're still waiting for details.
Yeah. Mr. Jain, how do you see this?
You see, the results, the exit poll results are as per our expectation. We were expecting this type of results, which will be ultimately coming on 10th. Let's not forget 2-3 things. One is the Indian politics has now come to a place where the BJP has been able to provide a strong leadership, not only at the national level, but even in the states also. People don't want unstable governments. People don't want, with all respect, I am saying, unholy alliances, two parties coming together just to form the government, just to out the BJP. Secondly, the leadership of Shri Narendra Modi has proved beyond any shadow of doubt that he is a leader who can lead the country at the international level also, at the national level also. And you may say anything, but the type of direct contact that Mr. Modi has with the masses. You must have seen his show yesterday in Varanasi. You must have seen his rallies. He carries the entire audience with him. He communicates with them. And so many other things like direct benefit scheme, money going to the accounts of the people, and women in UP were very much satisfied with the performance of the Yogi government. And they were very happy that law and order has been comparatively better. Even the Muslim women who were victim of triple talaq, as per our estimate or impression or information that we get, they have also voted in large number for Shri Narendra Modi. Now is not the time when the head of the family or husband will say and all the ladies will vote accordingly.
We have to be a little careful when we make those assumptions, because there has to be evidence-based claims about who's voted in which way.
When the results come,
so this narrative that, the Muslim men are not, but the Muslim women.
No, I say Muslim women also.
But again, like I said, this has to be based on evidence. But I think, Jain Saab, you also accept that it has to do with also narrative setting, right? I mean, there's governance, there's performance, but it's also how you pitch it and sell it. When you talk about, cleaning up crime, law and order in Uttar Pradesh, the data from NCRB, National Crime Records Bureau, is actually quite interesting, Nidhi. If you look at it, average, all crime, 35% up during the Yogi years compared to Sapa. Average crimes against women is up 36%. There have been 30,000 riots. Yogi ji often says, riot-free Uttar Pradesh. 30,000 riots since 2017. The average yearly riots under BJP is 9% higher, Jain Saab, than under the Samajwadi Party rule.
But then the narrative that's been pitched has been the opposite, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm saying two things on that. Number one, now after the judgments of the Supreme Court, intervention by the courts, earlier what used to happen was that somebody commits a crime, nobody will register the FIR. Nobody will lodge the complaint with the police. Now all those things have started coming on the court. Supreme Court says, moment there is a complaint, you have to register an FIR. And if you register the FIRs, it becomes a matter of record. Otherwise, the common perception in UP has been, the common man is convinced that law and order situation in UP has been much better. There has been no communal violence.
True. You're right.
No
the common man
violence.
is convinced. Whether it's true or not is another story.
Because he is daily watching his life in the bazaar, he is watching his life in the market, he is traveling in the train, he is coming, going, seeing the functions.
But he is also getting narrative. No, he is getting a narrative, a propaganda which is also being fed to him, that earlier it was much worse and now it is much better, whereas if you see the numbers, the numbers don't suggest such a big change. In fact, as it says, when you look at the record of rioting, you look at crimes against women, you can't just say it's because of better reporting.
No, not only better reporting.
It is indicating that things are quite bad on certain metrics. There may have been some improvement.
Yeah.
But it is also how you spin it, that it makes it seem that, there has been a complete transformation.
Okay, I just put one question to all those who say things were not comparatively better in this government. Has there been any major communal violence in the entire UP? Not even a single incident. As a lawyer, I can. But just a minute.
But the NCRB data
there are 30,000 riots since 2017.
As a lawyer, I can tell you, crime everywhere. In Punjab, 30,000 people under the NCB are behind the bars. 30,000 people. See, normal crime is everywhere, but so far as the social security is concerned, security to women is concerned, the peace is concerned, that has been ensured by Yogi government. Not only ensured, but people, see, you can't say the law and order situation was bad, still people were saying, no, it's very good.
Right. Well, Jain Saab, please do stay with us if you can. We have to take a break at this point. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes because lots to talk about, Vasu. Firstly, if these Axis numbers are correct, now there is a friendly reminder here that Axis has been right on a lot of exit polls, but not on everyone. They got Bengal wrong, for example, and that was the most recent election. But if these numbers are right, are we looking at Yogi Adityanath as then, as nationally, as a successor to Narendra Modi? We're going to have to start talking about stuff like this. So we'll take a break and come back in just a bit. Welcome back. You are watching our special coverage of the exit polls. We've got Shama Mohammed of the Congress joining us now on this show. Ms. Satyabal Jain of the BJP is also with us. Shama Mohammed, all right, the Congress story is not looking very good pretty much anywhere at this point, except maybe Goa, where you're kind of neck and neck with the BJP, and in Uttarakhand too, the edge is also with the BJP.
Nidhi, I didn't join right now. I joined 20 minutes before. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Apologies
we
for the
will
wait.
be doing very well in Uttarakhand. I'm sure of that. We'll be doing very well in Uttarakhand as well as Goa. And let's not forget, last time in 2017, AAP was supposed to be winning Punjab. You all recall that, and we won with 77. So honestly speaking, I don't believe in exit polls. I really don't understand why do we do these exit polls, because the results are just day after. So it's just a waste of time, honestly speaking, because many a times these exit polls have gone wrong. So what's the point? And anyway, these exit polls come out with these BJP numbers, BJP doing fantastic. Now I was listening to the person before me, and he was telling about these Muslim women who will vote for the Bharatiya Janata Party. He does not understand triple talaq is only 1% of Muslim women. You've been putting all the Muslim men behind bars for what, lynching, what all have, for CAA protests. You've taken over their houses, and you have the audacity to come on television and say Muslim women are going to vote for you. No Muslim, let me tell you, make it very clear, is going to vote for the Bharatiya Janata Party. You have done everything against the Muslims. Let's understand that. Then he spoke about women's safety. In Uttar Pradesh, let's not forget, the Chief Minister is the one who said, that ye antarashtra shadyantra hai, when the Hathras rape happened. And he said, what? FIRs are very easy these days. Who cremated that girl? The police. The police didn't allow her, the parents to see. So this is in which the Yogi Adityanath, which he should have said that I will investigate, see to it that justice is got, instead of he says Antarashtra Shadyantra hai. And he says what, FIRs are easy. What happened in Unnao rape? Was the FIR easy? When did you expel Kuldeep Singh Sengar? When you could not be, at the last minute when there was an accident, the whole family was killed, she was in hospital. So what are you talking about women's safety? I don't know who this person before me is.
But Shama, the point is,
the ground reality is that gas, which was 400 rupees, is now...
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Jain, whatever, I'm sorry because I couldn't see him and I was just waiting for some time. So whatever, Nidhi, what I'm trying to say is gas, which is 400, is 1,000 rupees. So the gas is in your showcase. Edible oil, which was 100, is 200 rupees.
But Shama, I think the point
petrol
is
and
that
diesel has gone up.
The point is,
100,
if we
goes
go,
up, there's inflation.
Shama, all these are genuine issues, and this is genuine distress that all those who've travelled to UP, including Vasu and others, are saying is very much there. But, all the exit polls, I mean, you may not agree with the numbers, but I think they at least give you a sense of which way the hawa is blowing, as it were. So, despite all this very real distress and perhaps anger at the local level, that anti-incumbency, it looks like the BJP is going to make a big comeback in UP. And look at Punjab, Shama. I mean, look at the AAP could really sweep Punjab.
So, so I think the question, Shama, is that we all are not saying that these exit polls are are carved in stone. Yeah. So just a second. It's not as if to suggest this is carved in stone. Yeah. This is with caveats. But I'm saying if one assumes for a second this is broadly the trend, would you be able to look back and say, is there something the Congress did which perhaps was a mistake? Perhaps not containing infighting in Punjab effectively enough, or in Uttarakhand? What would be the little bit of introspection on this?
So let me tell you one thing. See, it's not, so Vasu and Nidhi, what I want to say is that it's not just about winning. After winning, what happens to this subversion of democracy, as we have seen in Goa, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, and on top of that, there are parties which campaign against Modi and join with him to form the government, like Dushyant Singh in Haryana. So the problem right now is, how do people trust these political parties or leaders where there is complete subversion of democracy? That is what we are seeing after 2014, and that has to be corrected. People trust you. You're cheating their vote basically when you jump and join hands with BJP and when you've campaigned against the BJP. Right. So there are serious issues. See, yes, we had some issues in Punjab. I'm going to agree to you with that. There were some issues, but let's understand that there was a CM who was not popular with the MLAs. We did the best we could. We've moved him out, which would have not been heard of before. We've made a Dalit as a CM, and in 111 days, he's done a wonderful job. So let's give him a chance. Yes, we made mistakes. I agree to that. But at the end of the day, we also stood by somebody who is strong out there, who has come up on his own from a very poor family, and given him, and he has done a fantastic job in 111 days. So I think Goa, according to me, Goa we will win. There will be Uttarakhand also we will, and Punjab most probably will be the single largest party. Let's see, because 2017 they were wrong of AAP. We don't know what will happen now, honestly speaking.
All right.
So
we absolutely have to take another break.
And of course, UP, we know that.
We will come back to you right after that
just 1 minute.
Okay.
Just 1 minute. Just 1 minute, madam. I have all respect and regard for you, in spite of the fact that you have used very harsh words. But anyhow, that is your choice. In spite of all allegations against Yogi government by your party leaders, by your senior leaders, in spite of everything that you have said, you have been saying in the election campaign, the people of UP are going to vote 300 seats for BJP and may not be even 10 seats for you. Ultimate decision is by the people, and people have not accepted you and your party. Secondly, about Chennai. I know Chennai very well. Chennai very well, we belong to same town. Do you prove?
Okay, one thing. Vasu,
do you prove?
One second. You say harsh words. You speak about harsh words. Your people, your leaders give me harsh words every day.
Okay.
Okay, madam. Okay, no problem. आपका अपना ये आपकी अपनी choice है.
You talk about harsh words every day.
And what are you continue this?
Take a break. This is what I missed about television so much. We will be back at the top of the hour. We will be back. Alright, welcome back. You're watching the poll of polls with NDTV. All the exit polls are out now, and this is the big picture that is emerging. Let's go straight across first to Uttar Pradesh. That is the big state, and overwhelmingly, all exit polls are saying that the BJP is coming back. One of them giving the BJP as high as 326 seats. The lowest is 211. So it's quite a, it's quite a spread, Vasu, from one spectrum to the other. But bottom line, they say they're winning.
That's why the average, if you see in the poll of polls, because the India Today Access has also come in, has pushed up the average. It was about 220, 230. It's now gone to 240.
That's right. And you can see there that it shows the Samajwadi Party. I mean, the Access poll clearly giving them far less in terms of numbers. I mean, they could be as low as 71 according to Access. But if you look at the others, it basically means that the SP plus the other smaller parties it has tied up with in this election pretty much stopped at about 150, 160, and the Congress, not surprisingly, in single digits. Something to talk about that in just a bit. Let's move on to Punjab, where again it seems to be a pretty one-sided verdict as far as the exit polls are concerned, and you can see a comfortable victory for the Aam Aadmi Party, Vasu, which, a little bit of deja vu, because that's what happened on the eve of the last election as well. If you remember, most exit polls gave the AAP a win, and then the Congress won more than comfortably at that time. But this time, what was different? Because you went to Punjab.
I think one of the big changes is that there's been enough time for the voter to actually get to know AAP's work in Delhi. Because if you remember, in 2017, AAP had just come to power in Delhi. So there wasn't enough time for them to get the message across. This time around, many people had heard of all the various AAP schemes, whether it was to do with free power, whether it had to do with education. And I think all of that resonated. I think the level of a kind of, disgust is too strong a word, but just a dissatisfaction with this Akali Congress binary, seen as corrupt, seen as deeply compromised, I think has reached a tipping point in Punjab.
And if you see there, the today's Chanakya poll on News 24 is the one that gives 100 seats to the AAP, which is by far the biggest sort of number. Today's Chanakya also, by the way, famous for predicting that landslide for the BJP in 2014. The other interesting story that's emerged from Punjab actually is the performance of the Akali Dal, which, has been better than many people expected when this campaign began. So the Akalis have not done as badly as many people thought they would. Moving on to Uttarakhand now, that's the next big state on the election radar, as it were. Uttarakhand, again, Vasu, was largely a state where the BJP was beset with so many problems, so much infighting. Also, the fact that they had to change 2 chief ministers in the span of 1 year. Yet, at least according to these exit polls, it's still really close. And the Congress hasn't been able to entirely capitalize on this.
That's right. In fact, Harish Rawat at some point had said that he may actually sit at home. He was that upset with the kind of internal friction mismanagement.
All right. So that is as far as Uttarakhand is concerned. Moving on to Goa now, where again it was a really interesting contest this time, simply because you had new entrants like the Trinamool Congress of all parties, the Aam Aadmi Party that threw their hat into the ring. Here again, it's showing a pretty tight race, and in a state, Vasu, where resort politics, as it were, becomes really important post-elections. How the TMC and the Aam Aadmi Party do could actually be really key, couldn't it, if it's this close?
Absolutely. I think it's now going to be very much now the as I said, the private jets, the suitcases, the deals already started even before the results came out. I mean, before the exit polls came out, and I think it's going to be messy. I don't, this is not great for Goa, but it's heading in that direction again. But as we said, this time the Congress has sent firefighters. DK Shivkumar, its firefighter from Karnataka, is on his way, perhaps even landed up there. So let's see how that plays out.
All right, and then there is Manipur. Also the exit polls, we're just going to get those graphics up in just a moment. But Manipur also, we can tell everyone, it's pretty much one-sided with a contest that is in favor of the BJP. Let's go across to our panel this evening. We have Shama Mohammed of the Congress Party, Mr. Satyapal Jain of the BJP joining us, and Abhishek Singhvi of the Congress Party, a Member of Parliament, joining us as well. Abhishek Singhvi, just to first come to you on this, and the Congress's rather not so great performance as far as these exit polls are concerned. If you had to, introspect on what's really going wrong, what do you think the biggest problem is at the moment? Why isn't the Congress able to get out of this?
As you know, Nidhi, the problem, and good to see you back, the problem with these polls is that you take them as a given and you're not supposed to question them.
No, please
so I'll play the game along to the extent there is there. And let me just point out, and I stand by what I personally believe, and I'm not speaking, now that the polls are over, one can be more frank than before. I personally believe that we were on a winning wicket in Punjab, but the party was undoubtedly spoilt a little bit because of some of the static we found. And Aadmi has gained an edge. So I am disappointed there. It was a winning wicket, a winning state, but we may not do as well as we should be doing there. But I totally disagree with the projections here on 2 or 3 points. One, Uttarakhand, I would be astonished if we lose. There is in Uttarakhand already a contradiction in your polls, and I'm now playing the game of the polls. The AAP and the Republic give us an edge, indeed a victory. The India Today one does not. And I think that is sufficient indication. According to me, the BJP is losing and the Congress is making the government in Uttarakhand. Number 3, as far as Goa is concerned, I have no doubt that Congress will be the single largest formation. It may not be a majority, but the BJP is doing badly in Goa in terms of getting a majority. Now, after that, what will play out in terms of a coordination or a arrangement with the AAP or somebody else, I don't know. But I don't accept that BJP will make anywhere near a majority. Of course, we have lost both Goa and Manipur with stolen majorities, and we have to be very careful with the money bags. Just 1 or 2 more sentences and I'm done, Vasu. One is UP. Look, these figures, again in UP there's a contradiction. People are giving from 225 to the BJP to 326. I've got the polls here in front of me. I'm not speaking from your chart alone, but I've got sheets here which match your charts. So Times Now, of all, if I may add, of all channels, is giving 225 to the BJP and 151 to the SP. The response to the rallies of Akhilesh suggests that this may be a gross understatement also. The response of people, journalists and people who have been actively there, and I've had some very close contact with them, suggest otherwise. So again, I think in UP there is going to be a very close one or a real surprise, either of the two.
Okay.
Manipur, I can't say. Manipur can have stolen majorities and very rare things. I can't really comment on that. That's my summary of the 4 states.
Okay. But Abhishek, again, with the caveat that we are playing exit poll, that we are willingly suspending skepticism to for the sake of argument, except that these are broadly the trends, wouldn't you still say that if it emerges that you've lost Punjab, you are barely perhaps holding on to a chance of a victory in Uttarakhand, which you should have won comfortably. Goa, again, a state which should have been a clear outcome, but which again is going down to the wire. And Manipur is again a state where there was discontent, Congress not able to win. Wouldn't you say that there is something to consider about how the Congress is not just, looking at Punjab, but in a wider sense, running as a political party and fighting elections? And if so, what do you think would be 1 or 2 inherent problems?
Well, there's a bit of a glass half full, glass half empty perceptual difference here. If I just tweak your formulation millimeter only, it seems to me that out of 5 states, the BJP is in power in 4. It loses Uttarakhand, which according to me it is losing, it loses, it does not get Punjab, and it does not have the single largest in Goa. So you automatically change from a perception of a glass half empty to a glass pretty full as far as the Congress is concerned. Next, point 2. There is a very real possibility, and let me be very frank, we were not in the winning game in UP. But if there is a close call or a win or a surprise upset by Akhilesh, then you know where our votes and our support will go. I think it's a no-brainer. That leaves our loss in Punjab versus the Uttarakhand and Goa combination for us. I would say minimum 2 states for us, minimum.
So
sure, well,
no sense of anything going wrong, nothing with how...
No, of course it's going wrong. We should not have lost Punjab. I don't like the idea that we lost Punjab. I'm not saying everything is hunky-dory. We should make it in, we should have made it in Manipur, but I think we are in difficulty there because of a variety of practices. Manipur is basically a state leaning towards the Congress, but I don't think we can match the money power and the antics which the BJP is playing there. So things are not as good as they should be. But then things are pretty much worse for the BJP. Pretty much worse.
Interesting.
All right. Interesting there. Thank you, Abhishek Singhvi, for joining us. I'd like to go across to Satyapal Jain of the BJP again, just a moment. Satyapal Jain, okay, UP aside, where clearly, you know, the exit polls are absolutely clear which way this is headed. Are you a little disappointed about Uttarakhand, Goa, and of course Punjab? I mean, Punjab, the BJP was never a major player, but at least in Uttarakhand and Goa, the exit polls are showing quite the possibility of a Congress win as well, with a slight edge to the BJP.
I have heard Mr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, like a very seasoned senior lawyer. He has tried to give his own exit polls, his own analysis about the election results. Here we are winning, there we are losing. At the same time saying that no, exit polls are never correct. His own exit polls are good, they are correct, but the exit poll of various agencies, he says, no, don't. See, I have to make 2 points. UP, whether we win or we lose, somebody can say we are losing, somebody can say we are winning. Though we are winning with more than 300 seats. But where is the Congress? You are only now relying on the so-called achievement of Akhilesh, whom you have been criticizing for the last 5 years. The unfortunate problem is this, that Congress party today lost the confidence of the people. Maybe Punjab, maybe UP, maybe other states. Now see the result in Uttarakhand. Uttarakhand will be a BJP government, Goa will be a BJP-led government. Uttarakhand, Congress may be going somewhere around 25, 28, 26, maybe. That's my personal assessment. In Punjab, they were in power and they are losing very badly. We were in power in 4 states, we were not in Punjab. But in all the 4 states, as per our information, I am in Chandigarh, my own information about Punjab. We are going to form government in all the 4 states with a comfortable majority. So far as Goa is concerned, see, Goa last time also, it was the Congress which was the largest party. But all other parties came together to form the government, and now out of 15 MLAs of the Congress, they left the Congress, joined other parties.
Right.
So if they can't keep their own house flock together.
Okay, Abhishek Singhvi, one second, Abhishek Singhvi, we thought we had lost you, but you're still there. I mean, would you like to respond if you're still logged in? I mean,
you see, I was listening to the program as a listener. You're a very clever journalist, and I won't fall for the trap. Your contract with me remains.
Yeah.
Your contract with me remains the same.
Okay, well, you're on air, so if you want, you can have a go. No?
No, doesn't look like it. All right, let's.
I have
much to say. I have much to say, but I won't say.
Let's just go across to Sanket. Sanket Upadhyay is with us from Varanasi. Sanket's been traveling throughout UP now. It's been more than a month, more than 7,000 kilometers. He's covered every little aspect, of this election. And Sanket, just to get a sense from you about the significance of another BJP victory in UP and why this would be so important, nationally as well.
Well, how the BJP is, by the way, just a slight correction, 7,500 kilometers.
Since the show started, you've traveled 500 kilometers.
Yes, absolutely. No, we calculated, me and Osama calculated, and we would like that slight correction. So as far as the BJP is concerned, well, they've already started celebrating this exit poll result. There is a message that is coming on background by the BJP.
No, not.
Where they say, for the first time since independence or since 1952, in 17 years, the state seems to re-elect someone, Yogi Adityanath in this case, as Chief Minister after him having served a full 5 years in office. In the bygone era of the Congress, there are some examples of Sampurnananda in 57, Chandrabhan Gupta in 62, Hemwati Nandan Bahuguna in 74 and NDTV in 1985 returning to office of the Chief Minister. But barring Sampurnanand, who was CM for a little over 2 years before going to the polls, the three other became Chief Ministers only few months before elections and remained Chief Minister for a short period. So as you can see that the BJP has already started building up to that big day. Now it will be very interesting to see whether this clean sweep, mega sweep, 300 plus sweep, what exactly. So in the BJP, the conversation has now started that aayenge to yogi, aa rahe hain yogi. So that is very clear as far as their messaging and discourse is concerned.
Right.
Whether this is happening or not, that health warning has to be given. Just a quick check on this background right behind me. By the way, this is the iconic Assi Ghat, where in Varanasi, where I am standing right now. Was a bit of difficulty getting here in the evening because people came here for the Ganga Aarti to have tea and other beverages, and some of the people got in beverages that we cannot mention on air, but there was a bit of a situation here. Also television channels setting up their studios. This place was completely chock-a-block. It led to a little bit of a situation where the police had to push people out. This is a the approach to the Assi Ghat is very narrow. So it becomes very difficult if a lot of people come in. And since the whole world has descended upon Varanasi, so this ghat got really busy. There's a sense of quiet over here, but perhaps Varanasi will be back in the news on the 10th of March if there is a verdict either this way or that for the BJP.
So I take it you, of course, didn't try to find out what those beverages were. Because
absolutely
you're
not.
Completely taking a professional view. But, okay. See,
that smile is just a natural smile.
Seema Kushwaha is also here with us of the BSP. Seema Kushwaha, now the numbers seem to suggest what everybody who's been traveling through UP and even the opinion polls before the model code was announced indicated that the BSP once again continues to shrink and has increasingly become largely irrelevant. Uttar Pradesh has become a bipolar contest. You may not agree with the numbers. You could also say this is exit poll, but somewhere along the line, because not the first election this has happened, would you accept that there's a problem with the way in which the BSP, Mayawati, is emerging only during election time, fights these elections? It seems that she's not really in the fight.
इन 2007 की अगर बात करें, एग्जिट पोल में बीएसपी 30 से 40 सीट्स दिखाया जा रहा था, बट जब रिजल्ट आया तो हम एब्सोल्यूट मेजॉरिटी में थे. अभी एनडीटीवी को हमारी राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष आदरणीय बहन जी ने इंटरव्यू भी दिया, उन्होंने बताया भी उस चीज को कि हम फुल मेजॉरिटी में आ रहे. अगर ग्रास रूट लेवल की बात करें, मैंने भी जाकर के कैंपेनिंग किए हैं. अगर हम वेस्टर्न यूपी की बात करें तो जिस तरीके से हमारी अध्यक्ष ने टिकट डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन किया है, तो उसमें सभी सारे कम्युनिटीज को, चाहे ओबीसी हो, एससी एसटी हो, माइनॉरिटीज हो, जिस तरीके से टिकट डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन हुआ है, हमारे काफी स्ट्रॉन्ग तरीके से कैंडिडेट फाइट में हैं. लेकिन ओपिनियन पोल की अगर बात करें तो उसमें कभी सपा और बीजेपी को ही दिखाया जा रहा. लेकिन ग्रास रूट लेवल पे हम बहुत स्ट्रांगली फाइट किए. जो भी अभी आज 7th चरण के जो चुनाव हुए हैं उसमें भी अगर कास्ट,
ये सिर्फ एग्जिट पोल की बात नहीं ना, पिछले चुनाव में भी आपको सिर्फ 19 सीटें मिली, लोकसभा में भी आपको कितने, मतलब एक हाथ में गिनने वाली एमपी मिली. तो
अगर बात करें सर, हमारा अगर
चुनाव में बीएसपी के आंकड़े
कम होती जा रहे हैं,
कम होती जा रही है ना. ये इसमें एग्जिट पोल या पत्रकारों या उससे क्या लेना देना, तो आंकड़े दिखा रहे हैं.
2017, 2019 की भी बात करें तो हमारा जो वोट परसेंटेज है, इवन की 2012 की भी बात करें, वोट परसेंटेज बीएसपी का जो काडर का वोट है वो कभी कम नहीं हुआ। तो वो वोट के साथ में, उसके साथ में हमें जो जिस तरीके का टिकट डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन हमारा रहा है, इस बार हम बहुत स्ट्रांगली फाइट कर रहे हैं और फाइट में हैं। देखिए, अगर पावर में कोई सिटिंग जो भी गवर्नमेंट है, अगर आज बीजेपी की बात करें तो बीजेपी भी इस सिचुएशन में है कि वो पावर से जा रही है, वो सत्ता से जा रही है। जिस तरीके का उत्तर प्रदेश में उन्होंने 5 ईयर में माहौल रखा, तो इसमें नो डाउट कि कभी हम विनिंग कंडीशन में होते हैं, कभी हम डिफीट भी हो जाते हैं, बट इस बिल्कुल अगर इस टाइम की बात करें।
All right. Sorry, Seema ji. We just have to go across to Anupriya Patel, who is of course of the Apna Dal, a key ally of the BJP in Uttar Pradesh, Union Minister as well. Anupriya Patel, your thoughts, your first thoughts on these exit polls and you know which way they're headed.
I'm not surprised. I always said it since the very beginning that NDA will make a grand comeback in Uttar Pradesh, and the exit polls today are talking the same. So I was always very confident, and I see the same happening.
Right, Anupriya ji, thank you so much for joining us. Srinivasan here. Now, you know, it's interesting because if one looked at the way that Akhilesh had built a coalition this time, unlike last time, he took along with him a lot of smaller parties that represented different OBC social groups, including in fact the breakaway of your own party, the Apna Dal. Your mother, who heads this, you know, the other faction, the Kamariawadi faction of the Apna Dal, is with Akhilesh. Your sister is with him. Were you at all concerned? I mean, again, because these are exit polls, these are not the actual results. Is there some concern that there could be a split?
True, I agree. These are exit polls. No, I was never worried because, in fact, I was always confident. See, this is democracy. Political parties who are in the fray, they will try to stitch some of the other alliance, and people experiment because everybody wants to get that power in the state, and UP is politically crucial state. So Akhilesh ji has been experimenting a lot over the past few elections. In 2017, he forged an alliance with the Congress party. In 2019, SP and BSP came together. So I would say that this was another experiment, and there is no harm in making these, you know, trying your hand at these new kinds of experiments. So he tried to create this new kind of a umbrella or a group of different smaller parties. However, I was always confident that the way in the past 5 years we have been able to set UP on a path of development, the way we have delivered the benefits of various pro-poor welfare schemes, we will be able to make a comeback to the state once again. And like I said before, I am not surprised, so I am not, and I see the same happening.
But Anupriya ji, hi, good evening, Sanket here. My question to you, Anupriya ji, is what gives you the confidence that Akhilesh Yadav's caste arithmetic will not work and the NDA's arithmetic will work? Because am I to assume you are saying that Purvanchal is done with caste-based politics in just a matter of 5 years? Because that seems very unreal.
Let me just, no. I have never made a comment like caste equations don't matter at all. Caste arithmetic matters. It is the reality of our social fabric. And let me put things differently. OBCs constitute 50%, a sizable population of Uttar Pradesh. Now look at the pro-poor welfare schemes which the NDA government has run in the past 5 years. Today we see the benefits reaching a large number of voters in the state. Now where are these voters coming from? They definitely are a part of that big OBC chunk who have benefited out of these schemes. So there has been a change which has come in the ease of living or in the quality of life of a common voter of Uttar Pradesh, who could be an SC, who could be an ST, who could be an OBC, or who could be somebody from a general caste but poor. So it's everybody who has benefited, and today's voter is aspirational. they watch the government performance with rapt attention.
Because Anupriya ji, because you're talking about the various schemes, etc., and you're absolutely right. I think for a lot of people, the schemes that the BJP government at the centre has sort of launched have resonated with voters, and possibly really with women voters in particular this time. How do you, however, look at the way the campaign was run despite that? Because if the entire vote was about Yogi Adityanath and the BJP's governance record, do you think it was necessary to get the discourse to fall again, about talking about 80%, 20%, Kabristan, Shamshan and all the rest of it? There was so much dog whistle politics that played out in this campaign. Was that necessary then?
I think that's the sad part of politics today across the country. Everywhere it's happening. Every party tries to set a narrative, which is what the SP-led alliance or the BJP was also doing. My party, insofar as Apna Dal is concerned, I can only have my say or my role in what narrative my party wants to set. And I think we only try to speak about the issues related to social justice. We try to speak about the good work which the government has done in the past 5 years, which has led to a positive change in the lives of people. I'm really nobody to govern the kind of narrative which the bigger political party would set. But overall, let's come to the reality. People really want delivery, last mile delivery. People want a change in their life. We have been instrumental in bringing that change. And that is the reason why the common voter of Uttar Pradesh has again reposed its faith in the NDA alliance.
So government. While again, there's no doubt when it came to things like free rations, infrastructure projects like highways and all of that, there's quite a lot that the BJP government has to show. But when you look at actual income transformation, when you look at job creation, we met vast scores of people, including from, as you mentioned, these OBC groups, who said that unemployment was a big problem. And if you look at the numbers as well, Uttar Pradesh is at the bottom when it comes to health. Even now, it's at the bottom. When it comes to the Niti Aayog's multidimensional poverty index, it's third from the bottom. So there are serious problems.
Okay,
it's not
so
as if
is
everything
it something
is transformed.
Yes, I wouldn't deny that employment generation is a serious issue. I wouldn't deny that the health infrastructure needs much more upgradation and addition in a large state like Uttar Pradesh, which has a population close to, say, about 23 crores. But tell me something, the poor health infrastructure which we have today, is it only 5 years of the BJP alliance-led government which is responsible for this poor infrastructure? No. It is the earlier governments also. What did the SP do? What did the BSP do? What did the Congress do? Today, I will tell you what we have done. We have come up with 60 medical colleges across the state. Second All India Institute of Medical Science, if you're talking about health, in Gorakhpur. So we have given second aims to the state. We are giving a 5 lakh rupee health insurance to crores of people in Uttar Pradesh. This is concerning health. So we have tried to give attention to health in the past 5 years. Employment generation, yes, we did face corona pandemic. The economy got derailed. There were people who lost their jobs, and then there were people in UP also who lost their jobs. There were migrant workers who came back to the state. They did not have a job in hand. UP government tried to at least feed their stomach, provide them free ration, also tried to do some skill training to them so they could be absorbed. MSMEs have grown, so there are multiple kind of efforts which have been made.
That one thing
and the infrastructure which you just mentioned few minutes back.
Yes.
This infrastructure is in some way paving a way for bigger investment coming to UP, which will eventually lead to job creation. So that is the kind of roadmap we are creating, because if you have better electricity, better road, better rail, better airport, law and order, improve law and order, definitely we will have more investment and we will have employment generation. So that is the roadmap we have created, and today your voter wants to see whether you have a blueprint, you have a vision for the state, you have a roadmap for development or not. I think we have been able to make a beginning.
Sanket, you had a question.
No. I just wanted to ask Anupriya ji, what according to you do you see working for you? Is it the free ration scheme, the development that you're talking about, or, and I repeat, the caste equations that you feel that are still in your favor, or a mix of everything? If you can pinpoint, maybe in a pecking order.
I see a host of factors.
What will work for you?
I see a host of factors. I see a host of factors working to our advantage. Let's talk about the change, the paradigm shift in the work culture which we have been able to bring about in Uttar Pradesh. This is not a government which only believes in a series of foundation stone laying ceremonies at the time of election. We have changed the work culture. We just don't lay the foundation stone, but we also inaugurate our projects.
But Anupriya ji, there are more than 1 lakh vacancies in UP police. And unemployment is a major issue on the ground. The youth is really disillusioned.
If you are asking me about the
government
factors,
job positions are not being filled.
If you're asking me about the factors which have worked to our advantage, then you have to allow me the opportunity to at least state what I feel has played an important role in ensuring that today's exit polls show what they are showing. So this is one reason, this change that we have brought about in the way the governments perform today. Definitely the pro-poor welfare schemes, which have benefited people across the state without any discrimination, whether it is SC, it is ST, it is OBC, or it is any poor person from the general community. So the benefits have reached people, which have created a change in the quality of life. There are families which have benefited from a large number of schemes for the first time in their life after independence. Not just one scheme, but several schemes have benefited one individual family. These factors go a long way.
Anupriya Patel, we have
creating the situation and the favorable outcome that we see today.
We have to leave it there, but of course the numbers tonight are very good news for you and for the BJP, your ally there in Uttar Pradesh. All the best for the 10th. Let's see how the numbers hold up on that day. Is it going to be 211 or 326? Because that is the range in which the BJP's victory is being projected. Absolutely.
Whether it is 211 or 326, we will make a grand comeback to Uttar Pradesh. That is all I can say with full confidence.
A win is a win. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks very much
Anupriya Patel.
Yes, certainly.
Good to talk to you. We're going to take a break, but before that, if you're not tweeting, you're cooing. And here are some of the coups. Is that what they call them? Coups that we've picked up from coup. The UP election results will once again demonstrate people's faith in the dynamic leadership of Prime Minister Modi and Adityanath. So one viewer there very confident that the people of UP are going to bless the BJP government and deliver a crushing blow to appeasement and to dynastic politics. So that is our coup of the day. We're going to take a break and be back with much more after that.
Welcome back. Let's just go straight across to who is someone going to be one of the men of the match if these exit polls are correct. Raghav Chaddha of the Aadmi Party is with us. Numbers looking very, very good for the AAP in Punjab. Raghav has been one of the spearheads of the party there, and he's already dressed in victory colors, striking yellow kurta that he's wearing.
What did
Raghav,
you drink in the break?
I want you to start because Raghav has now got an alternative career as a rock singer. He was seen in that video singing the Aam Aadmi Party track, Mauka De Kejriwal Nu.
Ek Mauka Kejriwal Nu.
Ek Mauka. Raghav, before we come to political gyan, sing us a line. No, because to prove it was you, it is not lip sync. Raghav, come on.
It was me, but I'm not going to sing. I'm a very, very bad singer. I sang with the assistance of several lead vocalists as well as musicians. I'm not a good singer.
One line.
I don't want the viewership of the NDTV to crumble.
No, it'll go up.
So Raghav, how are you feeling? I mean, one exit poll says 100 seats. That's quite something.
Well, this shows that this election, the Punjab 2022 election, was an election for change. ये बदलाव का चुनाव था. And the people of Punjab were disenchanted with both these traditional political parties, the Akali Dal and the Congress party, and they voted for change. They have embraced the jodi of Arvind Kejriwal and Bhagwant Mann. And above all, they have embraced the model of governance that we've displayed in Delhi, and they wish to experience the Kejriwal model of governance in Punjab too. And today I can say with a sense of responsibility that with a positive campaign and a positive agenda, elections can be fought and can be won.
Well, what would you say is the big shift from last time? Because one could make the same argument in 2017. You fought on the same Badlav ka platform, didn't work out, only got 20 seats. What changed this time?
Well, we must have made several mistakes in the 2017 elections. I have, no hesitation in conceding that we must have made several mistakes, including not naming a chief ministerial candidate, including not being well equipped to respond to the propaganda of the opposition, which they unleashed on us and tried to, portray us as sympathizers of the, the extremists, etc. And this time around, we were well equipped. We had a robust organization, much better organization that we had in the year 2017. We concentrated across Punjab, not just Malwa, but even in Doaba and Majha region. And we ran a very scientific and a systematic campaign. And above all, people were yearning for change. Last time they saw hope in Captain Amrinder Singh. They thought that Captain Amrinder Singh, with his promises that, Captain ne saun chukki, ghar ghar naukri pakki, that is to give a job to every household. Captain Saab promised that he is going to eradicate the drug menace from the face of Punjab in less than 4 weeks. These were, big promises made by him, and people of Punjab got taken in by it and they voted for him. This time, they voted for the Aam Aadmi party after being completely disenchanted with the Congress and the Akali Dal.
Sanket, go ahead.
Yeah, Raghav, good evening. Sanket here. Just wanted to remind you that these are exit poll results and not the real results. Yours sounds like a victory speech which is 2 or 3 days early. But the point is, you mentioned the reasons why you may you mentioned the reasons why you may do well or you may form the next government in Punjab. But would you agree that the Congress was quick in understanding the challenge, and that's why they made decisions that otherwise they would not have? And that could have made things a little difficult for you. For instance, the choice of Mr. Charanjit Singh Channi. The fact that he is a Dalit face in a state that has more than 30% Dalit population. Do you think that the Congress became a little smarter, perhaps a little too late, but as a result of the Aam Aadmi party?
I'll answer that. Well, the Congress may have tried to set their house in order. I'm not, disputing that. But these last-minute shenanigans don't really work. People want to vote on the basis of your performance in the last 4 years. If 4 years and 9 months you don't perform, you don't step out of your palace, and you only do corruption, then the last 3 months, if you try and do some shenanigans, people don't get taken in by all that. Number one. Number two, I think Congress couldn't read Punjab and the sentiment of Punjab. Punjab is perhaps the most secular state in the country. Punjab refuses to get divided on lines of caste and religion. What Congress tried to do was to divide Punjab on lines of caste. They played the Dalit card. They did a complete Dalit outreach in the name of Mr. Channi, thinking that because Punjab has the highest Dalit population in the country, they can get a huge chunk of that vote. But trust me, this attempts to divide Punjab go against the very grain of Punjabi and Punjabiyat. And I'll give one small example. I'll just give one small example to buttress my point. The Bahujan Samajwadi Party was born in Punjab. Kashi Ramji hails from the state of Punjab. But they failed as far as their politics is concerned in Punjab because they wanted to practice Dalit vote bank politics. They had to shut shop in Punjab and move to UP because Punjab refuses to buy this propaganda.
Let's get a response from Pawan Khera.
Just give us a second, because we also have Pawan Khera of the Congress is with us, Mahesh Sharma of the BJP also with us. Pawan Khera, would you like to, because Pawan is smiling, Pawan was also involved with the Congress campaign in Punjab. Respond to Raghav Chadha, who says that you misread Punjab, there were too many last minute shenanigans.
By the way, Pawan, you're also wearing yellow like Raghav. Is that the color of Punjab?
Yeah, well,
mine
is a little pale today, but it will be brighter on 10th, I can promise you that. So, I have to learn something from Raghav. I'm very fond of Raghav, but one thing that I need to learn from him, to talk with a straight face. I was very interested in what he was saying, that Punjab doesn't believe in, Punjab is a secular state. Well, I agree, Raghav. Which leader went and uttered these words in Punjab that Hindu asurakshit mehsoos karta hai? This was in Ludhiana and the leader was Arvind Kejriwal. Yes, it's a secular state. Yes, Mr. Arvind Kejriwal misread Punjab. He should not have used those words. That boomerang badly on him. Number one. Number two, you remember there is a gentleman by the name of Vikram Majithia. You remember somebody apologized to him. Remember who apologized to him? Mr. Arvind Kejriwal. So don't talk about drug menace. We are the ones because of whom Vikram Majithia is behind bars today. Not because of you. आपने तो लिख कर माफी मांगी थी. तो ये सब अब प्रचार खत्म हो गया है. We don't need to do तू मैं. But with a straight face when you say things, then I'm tempted to counter you. Boss, don't forget what happened. Don't forget Hindu asurakshit महसूस करता है. And Hindus reacted because, sorry, Hindu coward नहीं है, डरपोक नहीं है.
Okay, but
Sikhs reacted because, sorry, Sikh आतंकवादी नहीं है. आपने दोनों पर हमला बोला, आपने पंजाबियत पर हमला बोला. That is something which Punjab will not forgive you for. This is the second election in succession where you went completely wrong in reading Punjab.
But Pawan,
let's wait for the results.
Sure, but are you saying you're completely discounting the exit polls?
Nidhi, at best, exit polls give a lot of entertainment to political animals like me and Raghav and perhaps Vasu and perhaps you. And for those who participate in the Satta market, they may give something else to them. I don't know, none of us here would participate in Satta market, I'm sure. So let's not get into what exit polls say. It's entertainment, a good Monday evening. Mondays are normally known for their blues.
No,
so
but Pawan,
Monday evening entertainment is fine.
No, leave the exit polls aside, because we're all just kind of wearing our skeptical hat and assuming that broadly these are the trends. We're not saying
no. My hat
is
the final outcome. When it comes to exit polls, I wear a cynical hat.
Okay, a cynical hat, a skeptical hat. But the wider question that Nidhi was asking is that would you not at least take something away from what you're seeing on your screens, that if it does appear that you're losing the majority in Punjab, some things may have gone wrong and many of those things were played out in the public domain till the very end. Do you think all of that did end up hurting you? The infighting, the factionalism, the public tu mein.
Vasu, whether we win an election or we lose an election, there is always something to learn, both from victory and defeat. So I wouldn't say that we should not. I have the humility.
So what's the big learning in Punjab? What do you think was one big mistake? If you want to say one big mistake.
Perhaps we need to spend more on our publicity the way Arvind Kejriwal spends. We need to learn that. Definitely. We need to learn how to create a hawa out of nothing. This is something we need to learn from Arvind and his guru. The true guru of Arvind Kejriwal is Mr. Narendra Modi. In दोनों से हमें ये सीखना चाहिए.
We just have time to take quick comments from everybody else. I'm so sorry because it's the chaos of it's not even election day and it's chaos. But Shivam Vij, Nilanjan Sarkar, Mahesh Verma ji of the BJP also with us. Shivam, just getting a quick comment from you because you wrote a lot while traveling through Punjab and UP. Therefore, do these exit polls surprise you at all?
You're on mute, Shivam. Shivam,
unmute karo.
Usually, I was saying I get to disagree a lot with exit polls, but this time not really. I think Punjab, there was a clear Aam Aadmi Party wave and a consistent one. I think even when Mr. Channi was made CM and Amarinder Singh was removed, it was already too late. The sense of deep anti-incumbency had set in across castes and regions in Punjab. I think this is the election of the Punjabi voter, the change they wanted in 2017, but they could not get that change because of Aam Aadmi Party's repeated mistakes in 2017. finally they're getting it this time. I think UP, it's been very clear that the BJP is winning to me, Questions of seats, more than seats, I'll be surprised if the BJP's vote share does not reduce in UP, because after all, there has been Muslim consolidation in favor of the SP this time. Muslim consolidation means the MY formula is working, and the MY formula at worst gives Samajwadi Party 100 seats, and then there should be some more. So I'm not sure about the Axis numbers on UP, but a BJP victory in UP is not in doubt.
Nilanjan Sarkar.
Yeah, I actually think that Punjab is the most interesting election in this cycle. If the exit polls hold, it's really kind of a sea change for the way that Indian politics is done. The Aam Aadmi Party didn't really have much in terms of party cadre, party workers on the ground. And a lot of the campaign is on social media. People say, I'm voting for Jharu. They can't even name their candidate, right? If a party like that can win in a state like Punjab, and mind you that Congress is a party that has had at least 38% vote share in every election after 1997. So one of the things this exit poll is suggesting is that that's also collapsed. So we are looking at a major sea change in Punjab, and one that one may not have seen coming if the exit polls hold true. And I think we need to wait a few days to find out if that's true. Now, in the case of UP, I think a lot of people did see that there were frustrations on the ground. I agree with Shivam that, at a very basic level, let us take the groups that we do not associate with the BJP. Muslims, Yadavs, Jats, Jatavs, maybe some smattering of other scheduled castes. That best is 50-55% of the vote, right? So the BJP starts with a huge coalition in its favor. And the question always was, can the opposition start pulling some of that away? And remember that the groups that I've mentioned are being split between the BSP and the SP. So the fact that the BJP has the advantage of brute arithmetic, the fact that there seems to have been a connection with the female voter and Modi, means that they were in a strong position. We'll have to see if these numbers hold. But this looks like a brute force arithmetic election to me in UP.
Okay. IP सिंह जी हैं हमारे साथ सपा से। IP सिंह जी, वक्त बहुत कम है, माफ कीजिए इतना लंबा वेट करा दिया। एक लाइन में बता दीजिए, अगर आपको लगता है अगर एग्जिट पोल सही है तो कहां रह गई सपा की रथ, कम कहां पड़ गई?
देखिए, दो तरह के एग्जिट पोल देखने को मिल रहे हैं और कुल मिला के देखा जाए तो हम 3 टाइम्स तो अभी आप सब जितने एग्जिट पोल आए हैं उसमें 150 से ज्यादा सीटें हमें वो दे रहे हैं, लेकिन हम आपको विश्वास दिलाना चाहते हैं कि हम 6 गुना, मतलब हम 225 से ज्यादा सीटें जीतकर उत्तर प्रदेश में सरकार बनाने जा रहे हैं। पूरी संभावना है कि हम 300 सीटें उत्तर प्रदेश में जीतें। 300 यूनिट बिजली का जो मुद्दा था उत्तर प्रदेश में, आप विश्वास करिए मेरे घर की बिजली जो 3-4 हजार आती थी 13,700 रुपए तक दिया है। गांवों में तमाम घरों में लोगों ने दुगना बिजली के दाम कर दिए। 17 लाख कर्मचारी हैं, उनके पेंशन की बात हमने करी है। 22 लाख जो यूथ है आईटी सेक्टर में उनके जॉब की बात करी है। जिस तरह से मास मोबिलाइजेशन हुआ है, जिस तरह से पब्लिक उमड़ी है, और बीजेपी इन 5 वर्षों में कुछ दिया नहीं, और लास्ट 3 to 4 डेकेड्स देखा जाए उत्तर प्रदेश में सत्ता परिवर्तन, सत्ता रिपीट नहीं हुई है, सत्ता परिवर्तन हुआ है।
जी, तो आप कह रहे हैं 300 सीट। चलिए वक्त कम है।
हाँ, महेश वर्मा जी, आप बीजेपी से हैं, सो यू डेफिनेटली गेट द लास्ट वर्ड, बिकॉज आप तो आपका स्माइल इतना चमक रहा है इस टाइम। सो आपको क्या लगता है, एग्जिट पोल्स का रेंज बहुत वाइड है, एक तो 211 कह रहा है और एक तो 326 कह रहा है। सो विच वे आर यू गोइंग टू से 700 और यू स्टिक विद समवेयर इन बिटवीन?
ये तो जिस तरह से एग्जिट पोल है उसके ऊपर जो है हम यही कह सकते हैं कि हमारी जो संतुष्टि है, हमारी जो मेहनत है, हमारा जो एक आत्मविश्वास है, हमने जो काम किया है, हमारे पास जो करिश्माई नेतृत्व है, और ऊपर से साथ में ये कहूंगा नितिन जी कि जो दुष्प्रचार है उस पर कहीं ये रोकथाम भी लगाता है और हमें संतुष्टि भी देता है कि चलिए हम कहीं इस तरह से तो दिखाई दे रहे हैं ना जो औरों के नजर में हम दिखाई नहीं दे रहे थे। पहली बात तो ये है। दूसरी बात मैं ये कहूंगा कि पंजाब में जिस तरह का आप एग्जिट पोल को अगर हम सामने रख के बात करें तो एक पॉलिटिकल डिवेकल है वहां पे। और जिस तरह से देखिए, मैं ये नहीं कहूंगा, पंजाब को लेकर कांग्रेस में खोया बहुत है
जी, लेकिन
जिस तरह का मिसमैनेजमेंट पंजाब में कांग्रेस ने किया है उससे इस देश को दोहरी चुनौती मिली है। केजरीवाल रूपी जो एक ये पार्टी है, या केजरीवाल रूपी जो एक बाजीगर है जो पंजाब में अपना पैर पसारेगा, और उससे जिस तरह से चुनौतियां मिलेंगी उसको भी हमारी सारी पॉलिटिकल पार्टियों को उसका भी अच्छे से सामना करना पड़ेगा। ये मान के चले।
We will give the AAP a chance to respond to this on result day. We're completely out of time. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us. Or Vasu, this is only
Raghav, you have to, if you the results this is matches by the results, then you have to sing on
so practice
results day. Do you promise?
Okay,
you can practice in front of the
mirror. No, one second. Do you promise?
No, I promise. I'll try to sing.
Pavan is not looking amused. All right, well, this was the dress rehearsal.
Vasu. I'll make Pavan also sing.
I feel like we've done the results already, but anyway, still a couple of days to go.
No, so Nidhi, from here, from the studio, straight to the petrol pumps
straight
to stock up.
Because of fuel hike, maybe 12 rupees a litre. Oh my God, that's the other big story. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. We will see you on counting day for, well, the real results. Good night.
Good night.